Hi, Katie. How are you today?
Good. We're here celebrating your birthday tomorrow.
Right.
So how old are you going to be?
I'll be 88. I was born October the 5th in 1925. Well, I was born in Lancaster County, in southern Lancaster County, in Fulton Township. In those days, the ladies didn't go to the hospital, so I was born at home. And I had a very unfortunate time. My mother died when I was almost just about a year old. So my childhood was, I went to live with my aunt, Uncle Ellis and Aunt Hannah Kreider. Well, truthfully, that was in the 30s, and I didn't really know we had a depression, except I knew that we didn't have we were never hungry. We lived on a farm, and my mother did a lot of canning, and we always had pigs to butcher, and we really didn't know that we were in I didn't know it was in a depression, but my father would say, things will get better, things will get better. The first place where I was born, we didn't have electric. We had no electric, and when we moved to the place up at McKinney's Grove, we had an indoor bathroom, and that was the first time that we had a bathtub, and we didn't have to go out in the cold to go to the bathroom. Well, I remember our Christmases. We never got a lot of Christmas presents. We always got a dish of candy and an orange, and then we knew how much candy we each had. But I can remember the first Christmas tree we had. We lived in Wakefield, and I had to be 7 to 8 years old, and the people down at the end of our lane were going for a Christmas tree, and I said, well, we're going to get a Christmas tree too, but we never had a Christmas tree. But they bought us a Christmas tree, and so I didn't know what to do, and I remember I figured I'd never see it, and the next Christmas morning when I got up, my father and mother had went down to a Townsend store, which was a local store, and got Christmas lights and balls, and that was the first Christmas tree we had.
Wow.
And from then on we had a Christmas tree. School? Yeah, well, we went to school with all the 8th grades were into school. All 8th grade were in the same room. And it was a one-room schoolhouse. And the schoolhouse I went to, the first school was Plum Hill School. We walked to school, and we would go through the fields to go. But the older children taught the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders taught the first graders. And of course, we always had a lot of. I guess the first job I had off the farm was after Mother and I were married. We or Nanny and I, excuse me, and I worked at Walter Hassel's lumber yard. And that was the hardest work I ever had in my life, because everything you did, you had to pick up. There was no forklifts or anything. You always had to pick everything up. And so then after that, I got the job artificial breeding dairy cattle. And that was a big deal because I always wanted to be a veterinarian, and we had no money to go to college. So I went to artificial bred dairy cattle for 17 years. And then after that, I worked at Ray's Appliances and Martin's Appliances. Job at the lumber yard, I got $90 a week. And your grandmother and I lived on Cyple Avenue, and we rented a house, and we paid $50 a month rent. And I got $90 a week, and I think your grandmother got $30 or $40, maybe $50 a week.
Okay.
The reason how I met Nanny was very simple. It was during the war, and we had no gas and no cars, and I had worked for her father, and she just lived down the road. We went to the same church and the same friends, and that's how I met her. To keep loving each other, and we know that there is a lot of different troubles today than what Nanny and I had, but the main thing is as always things come up that you wonder. We were very fortunate to have fairly good health, and the success, I would say, to any good marriage is to keep loving each other and don't stress on finances all the time. Although, as Nanny used to say, it always helped to have money in the bank. So remember, they said that they never seen me so happy the day that Patty, my daughter, was born. And we had a lot of good times together, but we had some stressful times when Nanny got sick. But growing up was when Patty got married and had 2 wonderful grandchildren. That was a great to Nanny and I both. And I remember and to see Patty and Jim get a house and have jobs. I remember when Nanny got sick, she said, "Dad, I'll never forget," she said one day, "Well, I'm not going to live long, but my daughter has a wonderful husband, 2 wonderful children, and a nice house to live with." And of course, has always told you this and told Eric this, it doesn't matter how much money you make. My father always used to say, make sure you save some. And I wouldn't be here today if I wouldn't have used that advice. The greater things that I learned through that was how to depend on friends. My friends, when Nanny was sick, Joan Maris came to the house and she said, I said, "We're going to have to put Nanny in a nursing home," and she said, "No way." And that's one of the things I learned, because Joan set up and I had somebody different every day, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, Pop-Pop took off. Thursday and Friday, people came. Everybody brought meals, and I've learned that to be a friend, to have friends, you got to be a friend. And if you want to know what I learned through life, was being friendly. And I always had the good support of my daughter and her husband and my grandchildren. And I guess that's one of my successful things I say. Well, I just want to remember being a good pop-pop and a good husband, and being good to my daughter and her husband. And I've had a lot of good friends, as I